folks, just a friendly reminder that all shows on the Madness Comic Network are produced by their individual hosts and in no way reflect the opinions of the network as a whole. The statements in the following broadcast are not necessarily the opinions of the Madness Comic Network, its staff, sponsors, or contributors. This show is rated TVMA, as are all of them and all those other letters. Viewer discretion is highly advised, and, just do what Doc says. Read that again. Peace.
Flip City Magazine is just really pulling out all the stops, man. Your guys' production value of this magazine has gone insane. I mean, look at that. I mean, I remember when you guys, it was black and white. Even when it was black and white, I thought your quality was great. But damn, they just really stepping it up a notch. Look at this. James Corbett, boys. James Corbett.
Genuinely cutting. But also funny, and obviously just chaotic and very fun.
I love Flip City. It has brought new types of badassery and integrity to the print medium.
The future. The final frontier. It has never been so uncertain as now. AI, VR, haptic wear, nanotechnology, mass destruction with a remote click. Now we are finally seeing the true potential and dangers of an ever-connected and overly policed hyper-technological world. Have we finally become the architect of our own demise? Is there still hope? Welcome to the future. Welcome to Punk Droid.
Everybody, Dirk Manning here, the writer and creator of numerous comic books and graphic novels, including Nightmare World, Tales of Mystery, Made But Not Dead, all kinds of stuff. And I am super excited for you because you are getting to watch right now, right this moment, out of all the things we're really going to be doing, you're getting to enjoy and revel in the Madness Comic Network. And that is awesome. Thank you for being here.
All right. Good morning, folks. It's another Wednesday. Let's see who might be around or hanging out with us today. All right. So I know Pops is here, kind of lurking in the background. We may end up having Charles join us later on. We may not. We shall see. So, without further ado, I'm gonna add my Clip Studio screen to the stage here, and I'm gonna add Pops in. Hey, Pops, how you doing, man? So I think I'm gonna keep it pretty casual today, and I was gonna pull up Clip Studio and kind of tinker around a bit with some pin-up drawing stuff, because that's always something folks seem to dig. Kind of talk about the process a little bit that I go through for this. If you've watched the show before, you've heard me talk about how I actually like doing most of my pencils in Clip Studio. I very rarely pencil straight on paper anymore, but I will do my pencils in Clip Studio and then print that on an illustration board where I finish and do my inks.
Right.
That's I think it's becoming a more common thing for a lot of artists. And I've been poking around. I like to draw from reference as much as possible. I know some folks are like, oh, it should be all straight from your imagination or whatever. I'm like, screw that. If I want realism, I need to look at something real.
This is why I don't draw, Les, because I can draw anything I can see. I can't pull anything out of my head.
Yeah, I am really, really big on using photo references a lot, because I mean, if I want my work, if I want to do work that is tight and professional and the anatomy solid, everything like that, I find that photo references are the way to go. Now, that said, there are, I think, good ways and bad ways to use photo references.
Right.
And, so I'm gonna go grab something. I really like all this crazy burlesque shit. I know it's really.
I drew a Thanos from a action figure.
Oh, so that's something that I really encourage people to do. When you've got action figures that have lots of points of articulation, that is so handy.
Well, it was kind of stupid because he had like 1 million abs and shit, you know. I mean,
we call those Frank Frazetta abs,
dude. His abs had abs. Okay,
his abs had abs. It's like the only funny joke I ever heard from Jon Stewart was a long time ago. He was ripping on the movie 300, which I love, but he called it the story of that time 300 Spartans and 1,800 abs beat the Persians.
Oh my gosh.
So,
and could you see all these laundry women running up saying, don't move, guys, just flex the muscles. And they start cleaning the laundry and they're like, it's never been so clean, has it? Oh, and this is just great view.
That's your fantasy, not mine, Charles.
No. So mean. Yes.
What I got going on here I've pasted in a photo that I copied from I use Pinterest a lot, just looking, just giving my brain stuff to look at. But what I'm going to do here is we've got this, and I'm just going to turn the opacity down about halfway, and it's just there as a reference. And I think that I am probably only going to really worry with about this much.
Can you zoom in?
Yeah. So
That looks like Marilyn Monroe.
some burlesque chick.
She real, or is it a computer one?
She's real.
Mm.
So I'm just going to start off with kind of roughly placing where the head would be. And I have a habit of drawing when I'm doing underdrawings. I draw it in that non-photo blue color. I forgot the exact numbers for that color, but so I will start off kind of getting certain things down for like the attitude of the head, and then follow this kind of loose S line to develop the spine. And you'll notice that S line, like if we zoom in, you can see right here, if we go from like her ear down that major muscle in the neck, that you get that S line there. And I'm going to exaggerate that a little bit in mine, of course. So,
Yeah, not so loud.
let's see. So, I'm going to mute Charles there for a minute.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude, I think you can mute yourself. When something comes up, you can always hit
Hear
mute.
him after you muted him. That was weird.
Yeah.
I forgot to hit mute.
Well, yeah, I hit mute on the back end and it didn't do it.
Yeah, he should be muted right now. He's not. How about now?
I'm not hearing anything from him.
Now we got it. All right. That was weird.
Can't unmute your guest because they chose to mute themselves. All right, that's good. So anyway, I'm just going to kind of roughly work in some major landmarks on a stick figure here. So like you got the shoulders. And this is where like probably 99% of anything I ever draw starts out this way. And then I go in and start blocking in little landmarks here, following I generally follow what's called the Loomis method on head drawing, where I've got a circle there and it bisects, and then bisects laterally, and then bisects vertically, and then you can divide that into thirds. There's like a whole process. Now there's a really fast point that I have found that I jump to from there, where I will go ahead and block off. Kind of, I tend to block things off in planes. So like there's my forehead, then I'll block off for the brow, and then I'll block off for the crest that comes out forming the cheekbones. And then from there, I can follow that on around and get the rest of what I need. And you can see, especially in an angle like this where it's tilted back a little, these kind of upshots of the head are difficult. So I've found that this particular pattern that I work from tends to work out really, really well for getting that the underside of the chin. It's one of those things I know everybody hates drawing that, because it's always a pain in the ass to get that just right.
The thing that I found interesting, especially with animation and different cultural animation, is the Asian skull shape compared to the Euro skull shape, to the Afrocentric skull shape. And it's interesting when you have angles that to us may look very off, especially with Japanese anime, but when you look at a different skull shape, a genetically different skull shape, it actually looks okay and makes sense, but it's jarring when you're actually trying to portray different races.
I never really think about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because now with anime, I can actually see the caricatured Occidental features with I'm trying to figure out how to, I could see them now as Japanese when they call a character Japanese, even though they don't look Japanese to our eye. And it's just interesting developing that eye to see the cultural understanding on top of it.
Well, I think that's definitely a point of cartooning.
Mm-hmm.
The principles for drawing and stuff, like the fundamentals, are pretty much the same across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Here's that. All right. So, and there's certain little things that I have found through the years that just work out really well. There's like a pattern to noses from this angle. It's like, and I'll tend to draw kind of a little circle that acts as like the tip. And then from there, I can sort of envision this bit of a triangle. And then there's little things that you just fill in around that. But once you get those basic forms of the sphere and the wedge combination there at the nose, then it all becomes much, much easier. And that's kind of the big fundamental that I'm always harping on. Like when I'm doing a teaching gig, I'm always harping on that with students, that, it's like you have to practice your fundamentals. You have to practice those basic shapes. Let's see. I heard something go pop. I wonder if somebody put something in here. Let's see.
It was just Charles coming back here.
Okay. So, So now I've got my reference down really, really small right there. So I'm not really trying to go specifically. It's more of a guide, an inspiration than anything else. So I don't like that shape on the hair. That's one of the other big things that I like to think about, talk about a little bit, is when you're doing hair, you have to think of it as large shapes. A lot of people get bogged down and want to think about, oh my God, it's all these tiny hairs. Oh, it's all these little bitty things. And that is exactly the wrong thing to think about. You need to think about it in terms of the shapes and volumes that the hair makes. So like here, I can see, she's got sort of this whole sort of thing going on there. If you can see it, let me zoom in there a little bit. You can see I've kind of highlighted it here. So zoom back out and kind of translate some of that just to some rough scribbles that are meant to help develop the volume. Okay. I know she had a part going right here, so I'm going to give myself a little bit of a guideline for that. And
in your opinion, learning the formula method, which is what you're teaching, how long do you think a person could take with practicing until they can become proficient, in your opinion?
I don't like to think of the stuff in those terms, because it all just depends on so many factors, that to say, oh, in this many steps or this much time you could do this too, is misleading, extremely misleading, because not everyone's going to have the same proficiency for it. Not everyone's going to put in the same I guess the same attention to it in learning it. So yeah, I think it's always a mistake to try and think about things in those kind of terms. It's like it's when someone asked me, is like, how long does it take to get to where you can draw like that? I'm like, it takes however long it takes. And that's the only truthful answer, is that it takes however long it takes. And any artist worth a damn probably thinks they suck. And I mean, I've been at it for 32 years professionally, and there are things that I stumble onto now just from time to time where I'm like, oh my God, like I'll do something. I mean, just the other day I was doing a painting for a client, and I did something in it with using different shades to build. I'm about to get into some artistic weeds there. Anyway, I pulled off a technique.
You like the weeds.
I pulled off a technique that I sat back and looked at it and went, huh, all these years, and I just now got it. Just now got that. And this is kind of a thing that I think is important, is to be very conscious of when those moments happen, and then do yourself the favor of setting time aside right after that. Like if you do something like that, you go ahead and finish the piece, you finish the gig, and then you set aside time right after to go back and study that and really instantiate that into your thinking, because that's what takes, that's what turns it from being a lucky moment into a skill. It's like you have to watch for those lucky moments, because they happen and they're important. But the lucky moment is your opportunity to reinforce something that you're learning. Let's see here.
When you were developing your art, what was one of your aha moments when you realized, oh my gosh, I can do this? Or did it just flow? Or did you learn how to see? What were some of your tools that you developed?
Well, probably the biggest thing was when I was about 19, I ended up meeting Jo Quesada. I like that little snarl she's got going on there. I ended up meeting Jo Quesada, and this was at a time when he wasn't very, like he was up and coming for sure. And he had done some higher profile projects, but he still wasn't the name that he is now. And, but he was getting the work that would make him that name. And Joe was very helpful to me in that, I think I was 19 at the time and really didn't have, I had like no formal training as an artist. Wasn't really interested in formal training as an artist, actually. At the time when I met Joe, I had just dropped out of college, which was probably one of the smartest decisions I ever made, because I'm not a big fan of college. But I had just dropped out of college and was trying my hand at getting into comics. But I knew I loved to draw. I knew I had a lot of natural talent because I had spent my high school years. I had spent most of high school with an independent study in art. So I already had years of like drawing for 5-6 hours a day under my belt. I mean, that was life. And when I met Joe, there were just things that I had not been introduced to that he did. And right off the bat, he gave me a list of books that he said, he's like, you need to read these. And so I took his advice and went and got those books, and I read them over and over and over obsessively. And I still go back to those books. I mean, the exact same books that Joe put me onto in 1993 are books that I still consult to this day. Primarily Comics and Sequential Art from Will Eisner, and all of the books from Bernie Hogarth. Bernie Hogarth's books were just like...
Can you make a slush list or type it up for next show maybe and go through some of the books?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll do that.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. And then I could talk about the books I love, which is Framed Ink, and the other books by the same artist. His books on lighting, too, I find phenomenal. And it helps you to translate the three-dimensional world into a two-dimensional media, where I find what you do on top of the two-dimensional media, where you're just translating it, dealing with perspective and lines. You also know how to deal with the three-dimensional world in a virtual world, in a false world. You know, in essence, you are a god of creation.
It's no different. It's the same thing. It's all the same. It's all the same. All visual art, in my opinion, is the same. It's forms, you know. See, right here is why I like penciling digitally, because I get tired of making my tweaks with an eraser. And I can really refine things and hone it because I'm like that. But yeah, where was I going with that? Poop. I lost it. I lost my train of thought completely. Just thinking about building out her eyes.
Just say Chattanooga, and maybe that train will help you get back on track.
You goofy. There we go. So yeah, there's so many resources nowadays that folks have available because of the internet, you know, and I like to look that stuff up. I mean, I will look up things like that from people who I respect, and you know, folks who know me, I'm like, yeah, there are people I respect. Can you believe it? So probably one of my biggest ones that I look at these days, the guy that I look to, his stuff on YouTube is Dave Finch. I love Dave Finch's work. I mean, he is consistently one of the best artists in the business over and over, and he's able to convey it, his methodologies, more clearly than just about anybody I've ever seen. See, Dave Finch, and is there anybody else I can think of? Actually, sometimes I run across the odd videos. Like, I recommend folks in comics to watch videos about art from non-comics people. That's always a big thing. As comic book nerds, we can end up staying too much in our own lane, and not just comics. I mean, the animation folks, manga folks, anime, everything. Just because it's the thing that you love, it's like, yeah, but if you study other stuff, it's going to help you. It can only help. Gotta get a look at this for a second.
There's a friend of mine, the late Wayne Seeley, who owned Mystery Manor, former Disney artist. The way he got his job was he had only one semester of art college, and he discovered it was the worst course ever taught because they were teaching techniques instead of how to see and translate.
You do need the techniques.
Well, yeah, but when Disney was there recruiting people, he actually met with Donald Duckwald, which he almost got in trouble asking about. He said, "My name is Mickey Mousimer," and then, but when you looked at everybody having all these caricatures, cartoon drawings, things like that, he just made 12 fast gesture drawings of everyone in the room, and he gave that as his portfolio, and he got the job because they weren't looking for styles. They were looking for the ability to draw, see, and translate.
Oh, pardon me. I can see that. Like, here's something that I find really telling. Thinking about the forms on the face. I've seen so many people who want to draw teeth, and they'll get in there and they'll think about the teeth. And this is a good example of a common problem across lots of areas. Is they'll think about the teeth, or like I was saying earlier, they'll think about the hair, and the language we use for things colors how we approach them. What I mean by that is, you take something like the word teeth, okay? It's plural for tooth. Well, that word is a container for multiple things, multiple different kinds of teeth. In a weird sort of way, I think that we automatically, linguistically translate things down to their smaller points. So when we think about hair, we think about all the little hairs. We think about teeth, we think about all the little teeth. And the thing is, you have to be able to divorce yourself from the granular thinking and think about what the actual shape is that the things make. So like, if I were to draw a tooth, we've got some teeth. Okay, there you go. You can read those as teeth. But if I draw a cylinder like that, okay, that cylinder doesn't read as teeth until we add a set of lips opening in front of it. And then all of a sudden, that curved line and the volume that we knew was supposed to be there comes together, and we go, oh yeah, those are teeth. So, and that's because you're thinking in terms of volumes and thinking in terms of the fundamental shapes that it takes to express a thing. You're not drawing the thing. And that's, it's like a thing that kids do, I'm going to draw this thing. So they draw the thing very literally. And you have to divorce your thinking from the literal and be able to just look at a shape and go, well, this shape builds what is going to, inform my brain that there are teeth there.
By the way, welcome Quantum Age Comics. Feel free to put in any comments or questions, and I'll make sure to read them for Les, or myself, or the brilliant Pops.
Mr. Pipes.
Yeah, if you had a foreign name of soda, then you'd be Soda Pops. If you
Something
were
I like about that
to help
particular reference is with this reference I picked out, I like that the shadows in the photography here help us see the form in this face. So, I mean, like right there, we can take that and translate that. Boom, 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 like that.
Now, why didn't you translate the photo into a black and white to allow the shading to be more punchier contrast, or black and white and then a blue line?
I've intentionally got it cranked down.
Okay.
Because I'm not looking to reproduce.
Right.
I'm just looking at it as a reference.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's all that is.
Now, when I do my stuff, it's okay if I show a couple of things. I'll have to get it ready, but
that's fine.
Yeah. Recent. So with the way you've learned how to see, you can also figure out where the lighting camera would be also.
Well, that's one of the things about thinking about those geometric shapes, is that especially like a lot of times I will block things in these very angular strokes because those angles help me better understand where I'm going to be pulling light from. And so when, look right in here, I know that if I go through and I build this out, this is going to better inform for me where my lighting should come from. So like right here, got some eyelid, and I want some light hitting this under part of the brow. And then because there's light hitting the nose here, light hitting this under part of the brow, light hitting right here. So being able to think about that, like right here, see this guy, this shape right here.
Yeah.
We can very quickly end up mapping out quite a bit of what it's going to take to get
That's impressive. May I present? Les?
There we go. Okay. You have to go down on your screen where it says present.
Yeah.
And then it'll add it in here, and then I'll put it up on the stage.
Okay, brilliant. Do you see it?
Yep. There we go.
Yeah, so that was my original. And then for inking, I basically used it as an underdrawing with my buddy Marco. And let me just switch it up. To do that. And, there were some things I made, that was made up, like the shading underneath the arm and things like that, with just hitting a high contrast. How would you talk about the way this was communicated? I'm going to try to pull them side by side.
Oh, it reminds me of something Neil Adams used to do.
Okay.
he would collage together sometimes photos and things, and then lightbox them. Lightbox. It's one of those things that with folks talking a lot about AI and stuff lately, a lot of folks are like, "Oh, this is fake. This is blah 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 blah." Which, you know, AI is not the point, but it's led into a broader conversation where people are like, "Oh, so and so light boxes, or so and so does this, or so and so does that," and I'm like, you know, there's a place for all of these different techniques. There's a place for all of these different methods.
Agreed.
You know, something that was for the alley in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, for something like that, that's a very commercial piece of artwork. Give it hell, man. That's definitely the way to go with something like that. It's hard without actually seeing the process of inking going into it. You know, there's a lot. I mean, it is what it is. There's definitely some rendering going on. You know, you can see where it's been interpreted and drawn. There you go. You know, and you can see that it's not like an exact thing, so that's kind of cool. But I do like the rendering of the metal. That's actually something that is very easy to overdo or underdo. So
It's fun, and you know, thinking about, are we going to go nuts with drawing all the mannequins in the windows? And we thought, no. Why don't we just make it simple, black them out? You know,
yeah,
more haunting.
Yeah, for commercial art stuff like that, that works out well.
Yeah, and it's going to become a T-shirt. The only thing I need to do is darken the moon a little bit so that will pop more, and then I'll be done with the piece. And the client wants a small gargoyle on the upper building also. Apparently, the Department of Growth is working on a film of the alley, and they're calling it Department of Punk. Enter the Alley is the title of the film. And this is like a sneak peek to the T-shirts.
Cool.
Oh, boy. I'm wondering if I should have showed it now. Oops.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be fine.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing.
I'm going to remove that from the stage and bring this
back to real art.
So I'm just really tinkering here, and it's one of the reasons why it's actually hard for me to share while I'm drawing. For some reason, I can do 3D sculpting and share and talk while I'm doing it all day long, but when I'm drawing, there's a different kind of headspace that I go into, and like when I work, when I'm drawing if I'm doing 3D, I may have some music playing or a movie in the background or something. If I'm working on comics and drawing, it's going to be silent. I like complete quiet. So actually, it's actually very difficult to talk while I'm doing this.
Interesting. No wonder you wanted a talking head like me.
There's something I like doing as I'm sketching stuff out is you'll see instead of trying to draw curved surfaces, I'll think of the curve and then think of the outermost bend in it, drop a line, then drop another line, square it off, and then square it off some more, and then work my way down to the actual curve. So let's give her other shoulder here. Let's see, I'll give her a little bit of a bump from that shoulder. And taking the arm up, I'm going to deviate from the reference by pulling this arm into about here. Let's see. And so And I like using this. I heard in videos a long time ago, Todd McFarlane referred to this as the peanut shape. And he used to do this all the times. He would use this kind of peanut shape that's really just a pair of S curves, but he would end up building things off of the peanut shape. So like this hand right here, boom, boom. And he would end up building a peanut shape out of that, which I think is a really weird way to think about it. So, but I take stuff that I've heard from all kinds of people and just put it together. So like one of my favorite things I've ever heard was from Jim Lee. He was talking about hands, and he had this really slick way that he lays out his hands. So once he's got a forearm down, he'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it makes so much sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because when you think about it, if you bisect that, then from there you're going to get the crease in the palm, and you can kind of fluff out that volume right there, and you get a perfect place to build a thumb off of. And then if you bisect this again, you get the other crease there in the palm. And then I'm going to change it, go to a line right here, just because I want a little bit more of an angle to it. But this is very much still reflecting the wedge shape that I would teach with. But 1, 2, 3, 4.
I would teach spatula, egg, cylinders, and bullets.
And then 1, 2, 3, 4.
This almost looks like a military poster, like she's saluting. Join the army.
Could be. It'd make a good female Freddy Krueger. Put some big claws coming off there.
Oh, that too.
So let's throw some shapes in here. This is something I'm just kind of spitballing. Doesn't really have a real story to it right off. So,
well, regardless, she's beautiful.
I always like the burlesque chicks.
Mm-hmm. There's some good volume to them, and they're aesthetically pleasing.
Curves in the right places.
Yeah.
I think I can turn my opacity up. There we go. It's funny because forever and a day, I drew fingers thinking about them in terms of 3 joints.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's like a pair of planes. 1, 2, and then you can just whoop, whoop.
Huh.
That third joint actually doesn't move near as much as we think it does. And if you stop thinking about what's literally there and start thinking about just the planes that are created, then it changes the way you'll do it. If you look at a lot of great comic book artists, some of them are really unabashed about it in the way they draw hands. You'll see, like a lot of times we fixate on the big, beautiful art from people, the big full pages and the grand looking shots. But if you want to learn something about an artist you really like, go find a panel that's a smaller panel and shows something from a distance, shows a character from a distance, where all they've got to work with is a handful of little lines. That will tell you a lot about an artist.
Interesting.
All right.
Now, there's some artists who really get an enjoyment from doing the art, and there are others who just, they find it a pain in the nose, like, I have to do this art, I hate it, why is my life like that? And then there's others who are more like performers. Both you and I tend to be performance artists, as in we could draw live in front of people, be entertaining, and have fun. How is it that you're able to do that, where you're able to go out in public, airbrush, caricature, do these other things, and still keep it interesting for the people? Obviously, you got the skill, which people can be wowed by watching. But how would you talk to others who are just trying to figure out that world, becoming the, quote, street artist?
Get motivated by paying your rent. No joke. I mean, there's motivation in paying your rent, man. It's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to go flip burgers or dig ditches, or is this what you want to do to pay your rent? Well, then you need to learn the skills, and there's a lot of stuff to learn with it. And sometimes learning how to come out of a personal shell and be able to speak a little bit or talk to people and hang out and be a little more personable is important. And I'll confess right off the bat, it's like my least favorite part of this. Like, it is absolutely my least favorite part of it. It didn't used to be, but as I've gotten older, I'm getting ready to do a show in Lafayette, Tennessee, June 8th and 9th. And I know that's going to be a great show. It's going to be fun. It's small. I'm probably not going to make a whole lot of money at that show because of the size of the show, but it's a small town show with small town folks, and it's going to be fun to talk to them. Like, it's going to be people who don't get that attention very much from folks who do what we do. And so they're going to appreciate it, and that's going to be a lot of fun. But now, I just did C2E2 a few weeks ago, and there were things I enjoyed while I was there, but the actual show itself, like,
you got to eat a Maxwell style hot dog.
Oh, that was cool. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, I did not enjoy the actual show itself because it was just too big, too crazy, too many people, mostly too many people. Like, I used to really like the people, like being around the big crowds and all that kind of stuff. And as I've gotten older, I am just not interested in those crowds.
Interesting.
I
tend to find them very invigorating and fun, and it's fun to meet the fans and just let them know that you're just a person. And I enjoy giving the advice and insight, and just giving the wow factor. Oh, on an annoying note, I got this for free from Old Park. I'm like, why are you giving them for free? And Old Park is like, oh, we have an ordinance. If you don't wear one when you bicycle, you'll be charged $150 and 4 hours of community service. Like, wait, why are you forcing this? Well, because we can. It's an ordinance. Yeah, well, it's not a law, so, Yeah, pretty rude. Because in Illinois, you don't have to wear a helmet when you're a motorcycle guy. You can just wear sunglasses, and that's all you need. You have to protect your eyes, but you don't have to protect your cranium. Isn't that just wacky?
And it's because Illinois likes their voters brain dead.
Yes. Well, it's Oak Park, which is like, no, let's take everything away. Let's take away accumulated wealth and give it away so that we're liked.
Yeah. Well, I'm not big on the cities anyway, so you know me.
But I just thought it was great. That is a beautiful looking formless.
Thank you.
And I know that you based it off of a reference and you skeleton it. You know, you basically used it as an underdrawing. Or no, not even as an underdrawing. I think the one I showed was more of an underdrawing. This was just reference. And what I'm enjoying about this, with what you've done, with, for lack of a better term, your mannequin, is you can put anything on it. You know, I could see a sci-fi outfit on her. I could see her as a robot. I could see her in a military outfit. It's amazing, all the differences that, I mean, how versatile just doing this is for your arsenal.
I mean, that's the fundamentals, man. It's like you start from the bottom and work your way up. I think I was also very influenced by, like, my dad was a mechanic, among other things, and he had a shop that he worked out of, and there were always these calendars up. Like, he had calendars hanging up going back to the, like, 1960s.
Oh man.
And there was like lots of these calendars from back when, like, if they did pinup chicks, if they wanted pinups of a chick in there, it was painting.
Yeah.
And
that's amazing.
So I grew up seeing a lot of this, like Humberto Vargas was one of the great painters who did that stuff, and really loved that stuff and paid quite a bit of attention to it. So, you know, that's something that comes out in some of the things. There's actually a lot more work I'm starting to do these days where I'm letting that show. I kind of kept that interest tucked away for a long time because I didn't want to be, I felt like a lot of the stuff done with that gets exploitive, and I understand the desire not to do that, but at the same time I'm like, yeah, you know, I dig hot chicks, lots of chicks dig hot chicks, so nothing wrong with with cutting loose on it, and it's actually been very very nice to do that. I've actually got a collection of stuff I'm putting together that's my take on pinups and pinup art, pinup paintings and whatnot. So
yeah.
So now I'm just kind of riffing on this with some scribbles because I've got an idea for it. Yeah, I actually ended up doing on covers that I did for Prometheus in Chains. They had me do the A covers and B covers for that series. So I ended up doing, I was contracted for 12 covers, and I ended up doing 32 pieces of artwork. The B covers were all done as what you call it, in a pinup style. Yeah.
Okay.
Line art pinup style. That was kind of cool. It was fun. So see, now I'm starting to think about her forms and how I want to hit those with some light. So we got, still thinking about the light coming from here. So all of this right here is going to be pretty bright. We'll have a little bit of darkness right there. Tiny little bit right there. And this is always kind of the one of the most fun parts of doing this stuff for me is after I've scribbled my brains out, I'll end up going
careful, there's not much left.
Yeah, I'll end up going through and erasing things away, and it's like the stuff comes together once things start getting taken away. So
you should put her in a roller derby outfit.
I've had this whole thing coming together with this like dress reaching across from the breast to her arms.
Oh wow!
These like tatters and things. I don't even know why I was thinking about that. It just kind of came together.
I do, but this is a children's show.
Yeah. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Let's see here. Oh, wait a minute. This might be an opportunity for something here. And you're not if you pick up on what this is turning into, Charles, you're not allowed to talk about it.
No, sir.
And just
That's why I've been very quiet, sir.
Just by saying that, you know what it is now.
Yes, sir.
So there's a little project I'm working on for those who are listening.
Yeah. That's the problem with being intelligent.
This got me thinking about. So
she's a cool pinup girl, though. Got some feathers in the hat.
Well, it's not a hat.
I know. I'm goofing around.
Can work that
Make her a bird girl.
Boom. Light. I so prefer doing this digital. I can just imagine right now. I mean, I've been for the Reign of Dracula Kickstarter. I had sketches to do for the backers of that. I got like 50 some sketches to knock out, which I've only got. I think I got about 15 left, and that's all traditional, which is fine. Nothing wrong with it, and it's been fun. But while I was working on it, I'm like, well, this is kind of cool. We'll get back to some traditional technique and all that, working on boards and whatever. But now that I'm back at the house and on the computer, I'm just like, thank God.
I'll be glad when I finally get a drawing tablet myself. I've been using the iPad a little bit with some cross-lateral.
See, right there. I work out all those forms in anatomy.
Yeah.
And as soon as I erase 90% of it, that's when it looks right.
Yeah.
But if I didn't put those there to begin with, it would never have worked.
You should be a wonky chicken instead of a nice hot girl. Oh, speaking of chickens, how are your chickens doing?
Oh, my birds are good. Old Red is she is spitting them eggs out every day, man. She's a real producer.
Damn, you finally got the egg thing working.
Yeah. She finally decided to quit holding out on me. So
yeah. I gotta try those real fresh eggs. Now, do you have to have a rooster with the eggs, or do they just come out automatically?
You only have to have a rooster if you want more chickens.
Oh, so they come out automatically.
Pretty much.
That's weird. That's almost like a cat going to heat every 2 weeks.
You need to have, so like here in a few months, I'm planning on getting a rooster.
Okay.
Yeah. The new chicks that I have out there, they won't, or they might not start producing eggs until there's a male around.
Ah.
But once they start, like sometimes it takes the presence of a male to get them kind of jump started get them to start dropping them eggs. And but once they start dropping the eggs, man, the eggs will flow.
So no wonder that all these women want you to come around their clubs for a day and then walk away because all the eggs will drop.
Egg dropping. I used to pick on the daughters when we would go to the movies, because I remember when we went to see Civil War, and there's a moment in that when Chris Evans was Captain America, he's like got one hand holding onto the edge of a building, the other is holding onto the rail of a helicopter, and it pulls away, and it's just this perfect shot of his physique. And it's like, kudos to you, dude. You worked your ass off for that. But when that shot happens and there's this prolonged shot, I glance over and I've got two teenage girls there who I'm like, I just looked at one of them, I was like, calm down. And she's like, what? I was like, I can hear your eggs dropping.
Damn. Oh my God.
It's terrible.
Oh my God.
That's probably why they hate me.
I when we saw the Deadpool movie, sometimes you bring your kids to a movie and you're like, yay. And other times you're like, oh my God, what did I do? And so I brought him to the Deadpool movie, not, okay, it's a rated R, la-di-da. And the first thing, my daughter was like, I want to sit by myself. So I'm like, okay. So she sat by herself. And because of her height and stuff, she looked a little older. Then I noticed there was a guy sitting next to her all of a sudden. And I said, then I just turned back to Ashley. I said, hey, Ashley. She looks back at me innocently. Oh, yeah. I says, what do you want to do for your 11th birthday? Oh, well. And then the guy looked and he just nodded to me and he just walked away very quickly. But then after the end of the movie, my children looked at me and said, you're a bad father, but a good dad. That movie was, we should not have seen that movie, but we're glad we saw it.
Dude, my kids grew up watching Hellraiser.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Did you ever see, or did you ever play Cards Against Humanity?
Yep.
Yeah. Years ago, again, my daughter was like 12, and, Samuel wasn't into conventions, but we're at a convention, and they're talking about Cards Against Humanity. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll bring my, I'll bring my daughter in. And they were like, you might not want to. And I was like, no big deal. Then Ashley got distracted by something and said, I want to watch this cartoon movie. I played it, and I'm like, oh, my God, I'm glad I didn't bring her. Years later, my daughter says to me, Dad, remember Cards Against Humanity? Because, yeah, I finally played it, and she's in college now. That's a case when you were a good father, bad dad. Thank you for not letting me play it.
It was my kids who introduced me to Cards Against Humanity.
Oh, wait, your kid?
My kids introduced me to it.
Oh, my God, that's hysterical.
Oh, yeah. That was a hint. Well, I am looking at the time because I've been on here kind of.
You've been here for an hour.
Yeah, we've been here for an hour. I've been messing with this. And see, something like this usually takes me about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But if I'm talking, it goes incredibly slow.
Hey, welcome to the speed of normal people.
It sucks.
Yeah, I agree. But look at that. Damn, saucy. That just looks cool. That looks like a cover with the old icon for the thing that would be the initiative for the company. Like the Silver Phoenix logo or the Sixes logo. And then she might be saying something like, are you ready for the spatula?
I was thinking about making it a zombie chick.
Oh, man. Imagine octopus tentacles for her lower half, so she's an aquatic creature.
I like the thing with the dress.
Yeah.
And then
Boom, boom, boom.
Something right there. The room.
Something tells me she smells overly ripe. And it's not that time either. It's a permanent ugh.
Here's something I kind of dig on a tight dress. I always love the look of like a tight dress on a chick who has just a touch of a little tummy.
Oh boy. Impressive. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, your shading style is so reminiscent of Bernie Wrightson.
That's where my brain goes on pretty much. I mean,
Golly.
yeah, most of what I do lives in a house that Bernie built.
Nice.
Give her a little
Yeah, imagine a world where the zombies are as intelligent as us.
You mean like Washington, D.C.? Wait, they're not as intelligent as us.
Yeah. I mean, the DC one was kind of interesting. The Z Corps or something like that, where they would bring back people, resurrect them, and they could only eat a certain slop. But I was just having fun thinking of different reasons for it. For my board game Outer Planet Panic, there's a zombie race, but the reason for their existence was a military weapon with nanites on biological nanites on adapt the body for deep space. So what it did was it basically killed the host and turned them into a form of a zombie. But they still have the full sentience. They don't have the hunger like in the normal movies where they just see these rampaging, automaton. They're more like just like us, except they don't need to eat, they don't need to breathe, they don't have legs, they don't reproduce. A hovercraft type of device was built, so they're biomechanical kind of, and they float. They wear long cloaks to not really scare the public per se with the indecency, but they're also the record keepers, judges, things like that, and because of their state, they have an eidetic memory. So basically, the fluid, the nanites, become the person, and the rest is just a shell. So, different ways of having zombies. Meanwhile, in Zombie Annihilation, the zombies are possession from another dimension, and the bodies move through telekinesis. So it doesn't matter how much they rot. God, that's see things like this just cheer up your day when you're watching. So
right here is one of the other things that I really like about working digital for pencils is that normally, like I started off and you see all these thin little wispy lines. Normally I don't draw that way. Like it always, people always look at me kind of funny when I'm breaking out the stuff at like a show, and I'll draw with these super thick pencils with flattened ends, and there's not a sharp tip on any of it. I'm the only person I know who does it.
Yeah.
But I find that it lets me, there's something about the feeling of that broader tip that I can, when I can just quickly rough in a nice big shadowed area with something instead of having to sit there and squiggle lines with it, it feels right.
Okay. Now, what feels right about doing it this way digitally?
The fact that I can reach over, like if I want thin lines, I reach over and boom, there's a thin line. And I mean, rather than having to have a bunch of different stuff that I got to reach over and dig through my pile of tools, you know, I just reach over there. I know exactly what it is, and I grab it and go.
Nice. Now, if now you're also a phenomenal inker, you know, which is quite impressive. But
That's actually the part that I like the most.
Yeah, but if you were to, two things. One, who would you love to have ink your work? Like, oh my God, they're inking my work. I feel giddy. Or whose pencils would you love to ink?
Oh, honestly, not really. Haven't ever really given any thought, and I don't think I'm not big on the idea of collaborating much. I don't like it.
Why?
I don't like dealing with people.
Okay.
So there's a couple of folks who I think would probably do a good job inking me. At some point, I'm friends with do you know, if I said, do you know Peter, do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Pete Palmiotti. So like a lot of times if I'm talking about him, I just say it's Pete because, you know, I don't want to be some name dropping.
Right.
Because I hate that crap.
Which is smart.
But yeah, Pete is a great inker. I mean, dude is amazing. And there was a Lovecraftian piece that I did a couple of years ago that he inked. Finally got around to inking it just recently.
Wow.
And it's so great.
Can you show it easily?
I don't have it handy. I don't have it handy right off the top of my head. So, but I remember, you know, talking about somebody inking me. I'm like, oh, Pete, definitely. You know, he's the top of my list. I love the way stuff ends up when you start to get all the shadows and stuff in, all the dark spots added in. So like on this, I would go through and shade out a lot of this hair area.
Yeah.
So that's gone away. There, get some shadows here. Digging it.
So is their arm missing or is it out of frame?
It's missing.
Oh, it got chewed off by the creepies.
So yeah, I'm gonna end up hanging on to this and doing something with it.
Yeah. That's gonna be a cool piece.
So a lot of times when I'm working on a comic, my pencils, if you were to see my raw pencils, they actually look a lot like this, these big, almost watercolory looking strokes.
Yeah.
And there's something about that. I wish I could describe it in better detail or more accurately as to what the reason is for it. But I love to be able to just drop these big shapes out there.
I think I have an idea. Is you are more of a painter instead of an illustrator. And with having the blunt pencils, it's more similar to the restrictions of a paint brush as compared to a mechanical pencil, for example. You know, mechanical pencil is a must for animation and you know, and cartooning. You could go both ways, but truthfully, I'm a cartoonist, and that I openly admit, which is a different way of approaching, different way of thinking, and I could be quite a humorist, where you have this piece looks like it's the beginning of a painting.
Yeah.
And I've always done that, where I've classified people as illustrators or painters, and you are able to do both, but your true style is a painter. And I think that's why things also lend so well with your 3D artwork.
Yeah. I mean, everything is very structural in how I think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, like right here, I'm just taking these shapes. And once I've got these shapes kind of blotted down there, I can think about, what really is going on in them. And it's kind of funky, because I'll end up just picking little places out. And sometimes when I'm talking about, I'll say I'm carving out light.
Right. Or are you carving out darkness because your piece is light?
No. Like boom, 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 boom.
I'm carving out darkness.
And then this should work. That's gonna fill the whole page. Stop. Yeah. Let's turn that all the way up. See if that's there. We go.
Yeah. Next time I'm over, I'm really looking forward to learning how to conquer Clip Studio.
The Clip Studio is the shit, man.
Oh yeah, because once I get that going, I think that will help improve me 1,000-fold.
Oh, let's see.
And that's the other thing I enjoy about digital is you're able to take more risks.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, because with regular paper, you get the strokes down or this down or that down, and if you want to change it, you're not happy with it. It can be frustrating.
With there's a couple different ways to look at it. See, on the one hand, like if you're watching me work digital, you notice like I hardly ever hit the undo button. I hardly ever hit undo. I hardly ever hit delete.
Yeah. I
just keep rifling through.
Yeah.
And that's very much from, all the time working on paper.
Right.
I think is good because, and I tell people it's like on paper, don't erase. Draw very lightly, don't erase.
Yeah.
Keep those lines there. And if you're going to, if it's going to be inked, erase after you ink it. Don't erase until the end.
Correct.
There's sketchbooks are for doodling, are for studying.
Right.
Illustration boards. Then there's a point that I'm about to make is have yourself a mental boundary.
Foundry? You said boundary or foundry?
Boundary. So that there are places where you're free to scribble and doodle and study and play and do all that stuff. And then there are places when it's game on. And when it's game on, you do the damn thing.
Right.
Do it. It's like, okay, here's this, we're doing it, and now it's done, gone.
Yeah.
So it's hard to quantify, but there's a way that I look at drawing and doing this stuff that's extremely heavily informed by the years doing airbrush t-shirts and stuff. Because if you're doing or doing cartooning and caricatures at carnivals and things, because when you're doing that kind of stuff live, there is no great, cool, I'll get it to you next week. There is no getting to go back and polish and tweak and tweak and tweak. When you're doing stuff live, it's like, okay, you're on. get it done.
Yeah.
Get it done quick, get it done good, and actually try to at least be personable, if not entertaining, while you're doing it. And doing that will, if you do enough of that sort of thing, it will increase your production speed exponentially.
Wow.
So that's kind of a big thing for me, because I've built my career on being fast.
Oh yeah, especially with good-looking women.
So, got to be quick.
Yep.
So, speaking of being quick,
yep.
We get Pops in here and say, that brings us to a close for another.
Now play some commercials and say adieu.
So, Mr. Pops, you want to take us out, brother?
Do I have to come in to do that, or can I just do it from the backstage?
You can just poke it from behind, son.
Damn, I'm wearing a chastity belt for that one.
Glamorized and embraced by Hollywood, feared in the underworld, Benjamin Bugsy Siegel was one of the most powerful men in America. He was also one of the most hated. The man who gave birth to Las Vegas was gunned down in the luxurious home of his glamorous lover. Almost 80 years later, his murder remains unsolved. Who killed Bugsy?
How do you end this thing? How do you put where's the brakes on this bus? I forgot.
Jazz hands. Jazz hands.